Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. So, this is the post-election video, and I think it's going to be pretty anticlimactic because I don't have a lot to say. And what I do have to say is going to be stuff that you've mostly heard before from me. I guess the first thing is it shook out pretty much how I predicted. I didn't make any surprising predictions. What I said was, I think, what most people predicted. I really didn't think Trump would win the popular vote for a couple of reasons, and maybe he still doesn't. I don't know. We'll have to see how California shakes out. I mean, California's not going to count their votes until like Christmas, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you really want to count it as proof of astrology or not, because I think that you could say that I was letting my own biases cloud my judgment. I'm talking about if you go back and watch the astrology videos about it, not the Trump Kamala debate one. I can explain why I got that one so wrong, but the solar return charts and the campaign charts. I mean, I thought, and we're very clear. I mean, there was just no other way to interpret them. And then on election day itself, the sun was conjunct with Zubin El-Ghanouti, and Trump's is a Leo rising, so his ruling planet is the sun. Kamala's ruling planet on election day, her ruling planet's Mercury, and it wasn't, there was nothing wrong with it, but there was nothing special going on either. So the astrology always overwhelmingly pointed to a Trump victory. I know the thing is, like, this is why you have so many people saying astrology is nonsense, because you could go online and there were tons of people saying, astrologers saying like, oh, this shows a Kamala victory, a Kamala victory. It's like, no, the astrology of the election was very straightforward. I mean, I'm not saying Trump had to win, but I am saying that there was only one way to interpret the astrology for this election, and that was a Trump victory. Again, it didn't necessarily have to shake out that way. Astrology can be wrong, but that's that. So as for my feelings, I am happy that Trump is not going to go to jail. So that, to me, that was the biggest thing, was keeping Trump out of jail and, pardoning the January 6th political prisoners. That to me was the biggest thing. Like I said, I wasn't really worried about saving the country or making America great again, because I feel like the ship has sailed on all that, like that we're doomed anyway. And so like for me, yeah, I mean, to me, and then also like I felt like I didn't want Trump to be the one to have to deal with all the shit that's likely going to come up this term, particularly the coming Chinese invasion of Taiwan and the fall of Ukraine. But I am happy about those things though, and that's why I have to keep Trump out of jail and have to get the January 6th prisoners out. So even if there was nothing else, I would have voted for Trump just for that. Just because I owed Trump and I owed the January 6th prisoners. I myself would have been one of the January 6th prisoners if it weren't for my health, preventing me from going. And I mean, who knows? I might have done something really stupid if I had gone up there. So, yeah, I mean, it was the least I could do. I just had to do it, even though, like I've said, it wasn't something I really wanted. And I still feel that way. But there was other things I liked about it too. One is that it clearly shows, this election clearly showed that Trump, and this has always been the case, but it's more true now, Trump is an electoral asset for the Republican Party. This idea that, and it's been pushed on both sides, but the left has pushed it aggressively. It's like, oh, why don't the Republicans just get rid of Trump? They'd be so much better without Trump. But now even they're admitting, like, Trump is an asset, electoral asset. Like, Trump ran ahead of the congressional Republicans. If the Republicans do end up keeping the House, it'll be because Trump drug them across. The Republicans won the Senate because of Trump. That's it. As without Trump, Trump is the biggest thing, is the best thing the Republican Party has going for it, and electorally, I mean, it's just a fact. And nobody can dispute that anymore. So the thing is, if you want to say like Trump is bad or something, people can continue to do that. But you can't say he's electorally bad. He's the only thing, like, because this part, I remember the party before Trump. It was a walking corpse. And, Trump returned it to its electoral and, more importantly, its spiritual health. That came first. So... yeah, I am happy about that. Then there's another thing is I'm not really into that owning the libs or liberal tier stuff anymore. But there is one thing about that liberals that still really does bother me. And I've gotten a lot better on this, but there is one thing that still bothers me. And that is, I don't care about their moral smugness, of their like delusions that they're so morally superior and righteous. I don't, that's fine, whatever. I don't care about that. What I've always really hated about them, though, was how sure they were going to win. Like, everything was like if you can even go, I don't know if it still exists, but there was this account, it probably still exists on Twitter, called LOL GOP, just like mocking the GOP. And there is a lot to mock with the GOP, but it just shows, like, that's really like the called like smug liberal worldview. Just like, haha, you guys are such losers and clowns, like Jon Stewart, Colbert, that LOL GOP account. If you ever go to Daily Kos, just this kind of like smug, like conservatives, GOP, what a joke, what losers, and stuff like that. And, what you saw with Trump was the first one who they didn't really know how to deal with because their snark just didn't work. And, like I said, it's fine. I'm okay with them thinking that we're evil or we're idiots or stuff like that. That's fine. What bothers me, though, is that when they think they're winning, that they're going to win. That's what always drove me crazy. And reading, like, even this election where I didn't really feel engaged, what made me, I would have gone and voted for Trump anyway because of sense of duty. But this sense of, like, seeing just that they were so sure they were going to win. And they were just completely mocking the idea of a Trump victory. And that was crazy. It made no sense. The thing is, like, it always, was always, if you're going to look at the data honestly, it was always more likely that Trump was going to win. And and it's fine for them to be confident, to think that they're going to win. But there's a difference between being confident and being sure, like absolutely sure. And whereas they did have some doubts with 2020 because they were, had post-traumatic stress disorder, although they were pretty confident then too. This was more like the certainty they had during Hillary. And and they've been like this for really since Obama's election. Since Obama's election, they've really thought that they were, the words that they like to use, the right side of history. And that everything that they were entering some like, leftist globalist, dystopia, what they consider a utopia. And then everybody who was against it was, again, wrong side of history, stuff like that. It was inevitable. They were cruising towards victory. And they were really aggressive about promoting this, from like at least after the 2012 election. It started really after the 2008 election. And again, what bothered me so much was their certainty that they were, not that their certainty that they're morally right, I don't care, but their certainty that they were winning. Now, the fact that bothers me so much is my problem, not theirs. Like, if they want to be deluded, that they're only hurting themselves. And, but, the fact, like, it should be on me to not let that stuff bother me. I know I don't really necessarily have control over how I feel about it, but I could at least not react to it. Or maybe if it triggers me so much to see them thinking they're winning, well, then why don't I just not read their stuff? Like, why don't, is it productive for me to go and hate read that stuff? No, it's stupid. I shouldn't do it. It's only hurting myself, but I'm just explaining how I feel. And then what I also would say is that I think any Democrat would have had a tough time with the headwinds in this campaign. I do think Kamala is an unusually bad candidate. I think that was a very weak candidate. I think she really exemplified all the electoral weaknesses of the Democratic coalition and none of the strengths. So I think she was a very bad candidate. As for the campaign itself, I thought the campaign was. I think she did an okay campaign. But I think as a candidate, she was just bad. She was a bad candidate. I do though kind of like how the so many Dems bought into it that she was actually good, because it makes Trump's victory. It makes it harder for them to play down Trump's victory. I also want to say that I do admire the way that Kamala and the Democrats did concede defeat in the election, which Trump did not do in 2020. And I completely agreed with him not doing it, not because I believed the voter fraud claims, although I did, but because I just thought the left is illegitimate. We shouldn't concede to them. And I'd be honest, like I still see things that way. And this is the first time I've started to feel like, because before this election, I just thought America's doomed no matter who wins. And it may very well be, but it's possible now that this election, brings back because the left has just gone off the rails since Obama. It's like they've always been, look, the left always and everywhere has been evil. They've always been bad, not just in America, everywhere. But it wasn't really till post-Obama where they just went completely insane. Like they thought that, like I said, they had the wind of history at their back. They were marching into this glorious dystopian future. They see as utopian future, and that they had completely defeated us, and that glory awaited them. And while that was always delusional, there was a time that electorally I thought they were right, that they would do it. But the difference is I knew that they would never be able to sustain their dystopian vision, that it would collapse underneath them. That's how I thought it was going to go. Trump's victory makes me think it may, I stress may, be possible to avoid that collapse, because if Trump had lost, there's no question things would be over. Now, I thought things were already over anyway. Maybe I was premature about that, because there would have been, you would have had, again, the Dems increasing use of state power to go against their enemies, and increased immigration, so it would just be impossible to get them out of office. With Trump in office, again, it kills the cases against him, and we can really, there's always going to be a deep state. There's always going to be a deep administrative state, but it's possible we can pare it down and defang it, because it wasn't always this big and powerful, and we can get it down, and then the Democratic Party itself might become less fanatical. Like they're the left. They're always going to be evil. They're always going to be bad. However, losing to them might not always be existential. Like if we get a Bill Clinton type, if the Democrats dump this immigration stuff, then there's no reason you couldn't have Bill Clinton types win again. And I'm not saying the Democrats will go back to that. I'm not saying they will get rid of the immigration stuff. I will say that I do think it's possible. Whereas before, I thought that immigration was what slavery was in the 1860s. Like it's an issue that there's no way to peacefully resolve. We have to fight to the death. Another thing is that the Democrats, nobody's going to stop them if they want to leave the union. If some of the really blue areas want to break off, we'd be happy to see them go. It's never going to happen, because they wouldn't do that, because there's so much bad you could say about the right and humanity as a whole, so humanity is like a whole unit, so people on the left do contribute a lot of really good things. And I can say this, even for me personally, like a lot of the doctors who've helped with my mental health stuff are left wing. My family, who's been, whatever differences I've had with them, have financially supported me at various times in the past. They're left wing. So, it's not that there isn't good. And then there are some issues even now where the left is a lot better on. children's rights, animal rights, abortion. So it's not like, like I would not want to live in a world where the right just had total rule, because it would be horrible. It would be like, and I wouldn't want that. And I'm not just saying that because Trump happened to win this election. Even if Trump had lost, I would say that I would not want to live in a fully rights. However, even though that wouldn't be for me, a society of just people on the right could exist. It might not be a place you'd want to live in, but it could exist. The right can live without the left. The left cannot live without the right. They're, I don't want to call them parasitic, because they do some good things, but they often function in a very parasitic way. And there's no blue, like that's why no blue areas will secede. If they wanted to, again, I would love it. I would love it. I would pay higher taxes to get rid of them, but they never would, because I don't know if they know it intellectually, but instinctively they know they could never survive without us. Yeah. So the other thing is that I know a lot of my viewers, at least, really are in drinking liberal tears, and enjoying how triggered they are and stuff like that. And I don't feel that way at all. I'm not going to condemn you for feeling that way, because a year or 2 years ago, I probably would have felt the same way. Not probably, definitely. And, I am not enjoying seeing the distress that they're in. Now, what I do want to say before anything else is that every bit of suffering that the left is undergoing right now is 100% deserved. They 100% deserved it. They 100% brought it on themselves. That said, I don't, just because it's deserved, and maybe there's like a sense of satisfaction to just see, a measure of justice done for the crimes that they've committed. I'm not enjoying their suffering. I am genuinely saddened to see it. But I can be saddened to see it while also acknowledging that they deserve it. I do think that I think right now they're probably scared, and they're probably feeling a lot like we felt in 2020. Just like the world was ending. We were screwed. And then, after a few weeks, maybe a few months, especially, things started to calm down, and we realized, like, oh yeah, I hate Biden and stuff, but maybe the country is still trending towards doom, but this isn't the end. This is we at least I was more apocalyptic than was merited. And I already think that the left, I would say already, they're not, obviously some of them, because there is a mental health crisis on the left anyway, like really are losing it. But it seems like most of them seem to understand that this isn't the end of their world. They're still going to be able to, their lives aren't going to change. It's not really the same, because for us, if the left wins, our lives do change. For them, they can yell and scream all they want, but the reason that they'll never leave is because their lives won't change. They're going to be able to live exactly the same way they are now. They just won't have the same level of control over us, which is very important to them. And but some of it's also like it's not even always about that. It's also about, like, people want to be ruled by their own kind, and just like we don't like being ruled by the left, they don't like being ruled by us. So on a purely tribalistic level, you have to, you do have I have some understanding for them. Now, if anybody deserved to be ruled by their enemies, it's the left. So that's the thing, is we don't deserve it. They do. But still, it's similar. The thing is, they don't know they deserve it. Yeah. So the thing is, like, it's hard for me to be super optimistic about the election, because it's like Trump's in now, and maybe we have a trifecta, maybe we don't. But what can we do realistically? Yeah, Trump will probably get that wall built now, and he probably will deport a lot of illegals, and then he'll stop. He'll slow down the tech immigration and the refugee resettlement. He'll stop that. So that's great. But it doesn't solve, none of those solve the fundamental problem, which is legal immigration. We have to stop legal immigration. We don't have to deport all the legal immigrants who are here now, but we have to stop more from coming. And there's no way Trump's going to be able to do that. Now, Ronald Reagan couldn't do welfare reform, but it eventually happened, 8 years after he left office. Maybe Trump can set the stage for eventual halt to legal immigration down the road. I mean, it's possible, but the thing is, the Republicans are likely going to lose the Senate and the House in the midterms. So if you can't do it now, that's going to be kind of it for Trump's term. And then, it's early, but I would favor the Democrats to probably win in 2028. And a lot of that depends on the economy. And the thing is, a lot of people on the right have fallen for it, this idea that the left is responsible for the economic problems in this country. And it's not true. The economy is fucked mainly due to, first of all, there's very little difference. There's essentially nothing in difference between the left and the right economically in America. But they both support the same monetary policy that has led to this, economic problems that we have, the biggest cause of the economic problems that we have now. Now, it's possible that in the U.S. it shakes out in a way that's advantageous for the U.S., where maybe, there ends up being such a dollar squeeze world over that the U.S. is able to keep, running these deficits, for a longer time. But, I don't know. Can keep things running, but I don't see it's possible that, inflation's already mostly stopped, but, people are just, haven't fully adjusted to it yet. So look, maybe things stay like they are now. That's I think economically the best case scenario. But I'm not really optimistic about that. And then I do think Ukraine's in the process of falling. I think the only way to stop it from falling is to put U.S. troops on the ground there, which will never happen. So Trump is likely going to get blamed for when Ukraine falls. And maybe he can hold it up for the rest of his term. I don't know. Taiwan's a bigger deal. I don't think that the U.S. can beat China in a war over Taiwan. And I guess it's possible that China doesn't move on Taiwan. I would imagine that they probably will. We'll see. I think with Trump, it's more possible that they won't. But I don't think the U.S. can beat Taiwan. So, and I'm not optimistic about that either. So Trump's just got to hope that getting rid of the immigrants is enough for, him to. I guess Trump doesn't care, but that we would have to hope that getting rid of the illegal immigrants and, hopefully rallying up the rhetoric against legal immigrants is enough to push Vance over the finish line in 28, and then maybe we can end immigration then. But that still remains the biggest issue. So I don't think the Democrats are ready to give up on that just yet. And it might have to wait until we have a full-blown economic crisis. But we'll see. It is good though to see the anti-immigrant stuff moving. So that is one encouraging thing. And yeah, going back to what I said, I do think that this defeat will make the Democrats, because again, my family are white liberals. They don't really care about immigration. Okay, the only thing they care about is gay rights and abortion. About immigration, they're they say they're in favor of it, but in practice they don't care. It makes no difference to them. And so it is something that they can compromise on. Whereas they were always saying that the Dems can, get away from it if they want to. Whereas the Republicans, they were always being lectured by the left. Look, just, become pro-immigration and just ignore the anti-immigrant part of your coalition. It's well, that wouldn't work because the Republicans need anti-immigrant voters. There's a lot of people who won't vote for the Republicans if the Republicans are pro-immigration. I certainly wouldn't. I probably would have this election, but generally I wouldn't have. And so that was never an option for the Republicans. And whereas and also like there's Republicans who would get primaried out if they voted for immigration, whereas no Democrat is going to get primaried out for being anti-immigrant. I mean, maybe in some like majority immigrant district, but that's it. So anyway, I probably left some stuff out, but like I said, I don't really have much to say. That's all for now. See you in the next.